Thank you. We need our dragon voice, right? Right. That's right. All right. Good morning, everyone. Page 5 in the prayer book. With all enemies who hate me, hinders who harm me, and those who obstruct my liberation and omniscience foremost, may all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness, be free of suffering, and quickly attain precious, unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. With all enemies who hate me, hinders who harm me, and those who obstruct my liberation and omniscience foremost. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness, be free of suffering, and quickly attain precious, unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. With all enemies who hate me, hinders who harm me, and those who obstruct my liberation and omniscience most. May all other sentient beings equal to space have happiness, be free of suffering, and quickly attain precious, unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. To this end I apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue until Buddhahood. I apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue until death. I apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue from today until tomorrow, this time. All sentient beings equal to the ends of space take refuge in the nature of all the body, speech, minds, qualities, and activities of those thus gone 10 directions and 3 times. The wellspring of the 84,000 heaps of Dharma, the sovereign of all the noble Sanghas, the glorious and holy kind root and lineage gurus. We take refuge in the assembly of deities in the Yidam's mandala. We take refuge in the Buddha Bhagavans. We take refuge in the holy Dharmas. We take refuge in the noble Sanghas. We take refuge in the assembly Dharma protectors and guardians with the wisdom eye. We take refuge in the glorious and holy kind root and lineage gurus. We take refuge in the assembly of deities in the mandala. We take refuge in the Buddha Bhagavans. We take refuge in the holy Dharmas. We take refuge in the noble Sanghas. We take refuge in the assembly of Viras, Dakinis, Dharma, protectors, and guardians with the wisdom eye. We take refuge in the glorious and holy kind root and lineage gurus. We take refuge in the assembly of deities in the Yidam's mandala. We take refuge in the Buddha Bhagavans. We take refuge in the holy Dharmas. We take refuge in the noble Sanghas. We take refuge in the assembly of Viras, Dakinis, Dharma, protectors, and guardians with the wisdom eye. Till I reach the heart of awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha's hall. In the Dharma and assembly of Bodhisattvas too I take refuge. Just as all Sugatas of the past brought to birth the mind of awakening, and in each and every training of Bodhisattvas step by step did dwell. Just so for the benefit of beings I too bring to birth awakened mind. And in each and every training thus, step by step, I'll train myself like so. Till I reach the heart of awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha's hall. In the Dharma and assembly of Bodhisattvas too I take refuge. Just as all Sugatas of the past brought to birth the mind of awakening, and in each and every training of Bodhisattvas step by step did dwell. Just so for the benefit of beings I too bring to birth awakened mind, and in each and every by step I'll train myself like so, Till I reach the heart of awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha's hall. In the Dharma and assembly of Bodhisattvas too I take refuge. Just as all Sugatas of the past brought to birth the mind of awakening, and in each and every training of Bodhisattvas step by step did dwell. Just so for the benefit of beings I too bring to birth awakened mind. And in each and every training thus, step by step, I'll train myself like so. In the Buddha, Dharma, and assembly excellent, I take refuge till I come to full awakening. By the merit of my deeds like generosity, may I achieve Buddhahood for beings' benefit. In the Buddha, Dharma, and assembly excellent, I take refuge till I come to full awakening. By the merit of my deeds like generosity, may I achieve Buddhahood for beings' benefit. In the Buddha, Dharma, and assembly excellent, I take refuge till I come to full awakening. By the merit of my deeds like generosity, may I achieve Buddhahood for beings' benefit. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness free of suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion to near and far. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness free of suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion to near and far. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness free of suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion to near and far. By prostrating, offering, and confessing thus, by rejoicing, urging, supplicating too, any little virtue that I have amassed, all I dedicate for full awakening. This ground daubed with fragrant water and with flowers strewn is adorned by Meru, four lands, and by sun and moon. Seeing this to be a Buddha field, I offer it. May all beings experience this utterly pure land. Om Guru Ratna Mandala Pudza Mega Samudra Saparana Samaye And now the 37 Bodhisattva practices together, little blue book. Homage to Lokeshvara. I pay constant homage through my three doors to my supreme teacher and protector, Chenrezig, who, while seeing all phenomena lack coming and going, makes single-minded effort for the good of living beings. Perfect Buddhas, source of all well-being and happiness, arise from accomplishing the excellent teachings, and this depends on knowing the practices. So I will explain the practices of Bodhisattvas. Having gained this rare ship, freedom and fortune, hear, think, and meditate unwaveringly night and day, in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of cyclic existence. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. Attached to your loved ones, you're stirred up like water. Hating your enemies, you burn like fire. In the darkness of confusion, you forget what to adopt and discard. Give up your homeland. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. By avoiding bad objects, disturbing emotions gradually decrease. Without distraction, virtuous activities naturally increase. With clarity of mind, conviction in the teachings arises. Cultivate seclusion. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. Loved ones who have long kept company will part. Wealth created with difficulty will be left behind. Consciousness the guest house of the body. Let go of this life. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. When you keep their company, your three poisons increase. Your activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating decline, and they make you lose your love and compassion. Give up bad friends. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. When you rely on them, your faults come to an end, and your good qualities grow like a waxing moon. Cherish spiritual teachers even more than your own body. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Bound himself in the jail of cyclic existence, what worldly god can give you protection? Therefore, when you seek refuge, take refuge in the three jewels which will not betray you. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. The subduer said, all the unbearable suffering of bad rebirths is the fruit of wrongdoing. Therefore, even at the cost of your own life, never do wrong. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Like dew on the tip of a blade of grass, pleasures of the three worlds last only a while and then vanish. Aspire to the never-changing supreme state of liberation. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. When your mothers who have loved you since time without beginning are suffering, what use is your own happiness? Therefore, to free limitless living beings, develop the altruistic intention. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. All suffering comes from the wish for your own happiness. Perfect Buddhas are born from the thought to help others. Therefore, exchange your own happiness for the suffering of others. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Even if someone out of strong desire steals all your wealth or has it stolen, dedicate to him your body, possessions, and all your virtue, past, present, and future. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Even if someone tries to cut off your head when you haven't done the slightest thing wrong, out of compassion take all his misdeeds upon yourself. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Even if someone broadcasts kinds of unpleasant remarks about you throughout the 3,000 worlds, in return with a loving mind speak of his good qualities. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Though someone may deride and speak bad words about you in a public gathering, looking on him as a spiritual teacher, bow to him with respect. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Even if a person for whom you've cared like your own child regards you as an enemy, cherish him specially like a mother does her child who is stricken with sickness. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. If an equal or inferior person disparages you out of pride, place him as you would your spiritual teacher, with respect on the crown of your head. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Though you lack what you need and are constantly disparaged, afflicted by dangerous sickness and spirits, without discouragement take on the misdeeds and the pain of all living beings. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Though you become famous and many bow to you, and you gain riches to equal Vaishravanas, see that worldly fortune is without essence and be unconceited. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. While the enemy of your own anger is unsubdued, though you conquer external foes, they will only increase. Therefore, with a militia of love and compassion, subdue your own mind. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Sensual pleasures are like salt water. The more you indulge, the more thirst increases. Abandon at once those things which breed clinging attachment. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Whatever appears is your own mind. Your mind from the start was free from fabricated extremes. Understanding this, do not take to mind inherent signs of subject and object. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. When you encounter attractive objects, though they seem beautiful like a rainbow in summer, don't regard them as real and give up attachment. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. All forms of suffering are like a child's death in a dream. Holding illusory appearances to be true makes you weary. Therefore, when you meet with disagreeable circumstances, see them as illusory. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. When those who want enlightenment must give even their body, there is no need to mention external things. Therefore, without hope for return or any fruition, give generously. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Without ethics, you can't accomplish your own well-being, so wanting to accomplish others is laughable. Therefore, without worldly aspirations, safeguard your ethical discipline. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. To bodhisattvas who want a wealth of virtue, those who harm are like a precious treasure. Therefore, towards all, cultivate patience without hostility. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Seeing, hearers, and solitary realizers who accomplish only their own good strive as if to put out a fire on their head. For the sake of all beings, make enthusiastic effort, the source of all good qualities. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Understanding that disturbing emotions are destroyed by special insight with calm abiding. Cultivate concentration which surpasses the four formless absorptions. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Since the five perfections without wisdom cannot bring perfect enlightenment, along with skillful means, cultivate the wisdom which does not conceive the three spheres as real. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. If you don't examine your own errors, you may look like a practitioner but not act as one. Therefore, always examining your own errors, rid yourself of them. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. If, through the influence of disturbing emotions, you point out the faults of another bodhisattva, you yourself are diminished. So don't mention the faults of those who have entered the great vehicle. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Reward and respect cause us to quarrel, make hearing, thinking, and meditation decline. For this reason, give up attachment to the households of friends, relations, and benefactors. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Harsh words disturb the minds of others and cause deterioration in a bodhisattva's conduct. Therefore, give up harsh words which are unpleasant to others. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Habitual disturbing emotions are hard to stop through counteractions. Armed with antidotes, the guards of mindfulness and mental alertness destroy disturbing emotions like attachment at once, as soon as they arise. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. In brief, whatever you are doing, ask yourself, what's the state of my mind? With constant mindfulness and mental alertness, accomplish others' good. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. To remove the suffering of limitless beings, understanding the purity of the three spheres, dedicate the virtue for making such effort to enlightenment. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. For all who want to train on the bodhisattva path, I have written the 37 practices of bodhisattvas, following what has been said by the excellent ones on the meaning of the sutras, tantras, and treatises. Though not poetically pleasing to scholars, owing to my poor intelligence and lack of learning, I've relied on the sutras and the words of the excellent, so I think these bodhisattva practices are without error. However, as the great deeds, bodhisattvas are hard to fathom, one of my poor intelligence. I beg the excellent to forgive all faults, such as contradictions and non sequiturs. Through the virtue from this, may all living beings gain the ultimate and conventional altruistic intention, and thereby become like the protector Chenrezig, who dwells in neither extreme, not in the world nor in peace. Oh, we got a little music. It sounds like the Devas are playing Sarasvati, right? Yeah, if anyone doesn't have one of these little blue books, please feel free to take it with you as White Lotus's gift to you, given to us by Garchen Rinpoche. Says that the entire Buddhist path can be found in this little book. It's kind of like your key. Also, it is this book itself was written, this poem was composed by a Tibetan monk in, I think, the 13th century, the 1200s. And he was in this, our technical identity here is Drikung Kagyu. That's one of 12 different schools within the Kagyu. I'm getting way deep in the weeds here. And the Kagyu itself is one of the Sarma, the new schools of Tibetan Buddhism. Buddhism came to India, came to Tibet from India in two great waves. One like in the 800s and then one in the 1100s. The monk who wrote this was a Kadampa monk, part of this great tidal wave of Buddhism, second wave that came in from India, the latter waves. And Atisha was the great figure, one of the great figures in that. We do a practice on Atisha's prayer to Tara every other Tuesday night here. that too was given to us by Gar Rinpoche. So Dalai Lama has said that his favorite book is a book called Entering the Bodhisattva Path, the Bodhisattva Way, written by this Indian monk Shantideva in the 600s, I think, Indian, Entering the Bodhisattva Path. And it's been said that this little blue book is like the essence of that. So Shantideva's great poem is 10 chapters, it's like 200 pages or something, also a poem, but more like an epic poem, whereas this is the crystallization of that. So Gar Rinpoche puts great emphasis on this little book, and it's extremely useful. Things come up in your life because it's so accessible, less kind of terminology in that. You can go right to it and see what's happening in your life. And you can just adopt one verse a day. Every month you will have gone through the whole book practically. So it's very useful. Please feel free to take one. And I thought this morning, I guess as an old man, you start remembering things. It's just funny with age. Something that was like 5 years old happened to you at 5 years old. It's like crystal clear. But what happened, what your wife said to you 2 minutes ago, you've forgotten already. I mean, it's just like funny. So it occurred to me this morning, the fortuitous, it says in the Lotus Sutra, bodhisattvas will spring up out of the earth. It's this vast openness. It's what we don't really trust as human beings, We're so habituated and so focused on our conceptualized ego that we observe the world through our own individual aspect, and everything we do is like colored. This lens of our mind is stained. The Dharma is just the process of removing those stains. And then I think it's, as William Blake said, then, the world is infinite, but when the stains are gone, it's seen as it actually is, infinite. It's hard to see things infinite when we're just clinging to ourselves all the time. And yet, our experience, our believed experience, is that this clinging is the way to happiness, protection and aggrandizement. And somehow if we give up that clinging, we're afraid like there'd be nothing left for us, So we do that in an inherent way, as do all the sentient beings, all the animals. We can't condemn ourselves for that. That's just how we've trained ourselves. But the genius of the Dharma is that we have trained ourselves. We're the source of that wrong attitude. And because it's widely shared, it is shared. And this level of existence, that's it. It seems like absolutely true, ultimately true, fundamentally true, objectively true, something you can rely on. And we're all looking for things to rely on. And how magical that actually it's the Dharma that's reliable on it. So I thought this morning, we have on page 11 the short mindset prayer that we do all the time. May all mother sentient beings equal to space have happiness, and the causes of happiness, that's love. May they be free of suffering, and the cause of suffering, that's compassion, according to Buddhist definition. May they not be separated from the happiness free of suffering, that's this spontaneous joy, bliss. Gar Rinpoche has said the easiest way to come to enlightenment is just to be practicing this spontaneous bliss all the time. Every time you see some virtuous thing happening, you be blissful instead of resentful or jealous, or just or just forgetting about it. So suddenly, you seeing the smile on a kindergartner when they're given their badge at some sort of funky kind of graduation ceremony. If you can become one with that joy, that's the way to enlightenment. Suddenly the whole world opens up. And then finally, may they abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion to near and far. This is the great equanimity. So these are called the four immeasurables. And why? Because Buddha practiced them and realized these. He left his home, as we know, with tremendous courage. I mean, again, because my daughters have both studied Sanskrit, and one especially does quite a bit on Sanskrit and Indian religions. The Dharma, meaning the obligation in ancient India. I mean, it's still there. But in ancient India, as a ruler, a prince, and also as a husband, as a father, these were tremendous obligations. It's not like the modern world where, oh hey, let's make divorce doable. It was just unheard of. You had an obligation, and he renounced all that. Not in the sense that this is bad and throwing it away, but for his own path, that was an obstacle. It's really kind of hard to believe the tremendous courage. Then he went and practiced with the greatest teachers of his day. With the first teacher, he came to the third level. I'll get into this a little bit. This unending bliss. May they never be separated from the happiness, free of suffering. These four states, these four immeasurables, relate to mental states. And let's see if I can remember them. I might have to Google this because my old mind is going. Let's see, I can get it. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yeah. The arupa. So in Sanskrit, rupa is form, and the Hindu and the Buddhist conception of the world, the universe, there are the all this kind of again, I'm forgetting the terms, but our own kind of existence. The six realms, for instance, animals, hellish beings, sensual divine beings, human beings, fighting gods, hungry ghosts, all this kind of, we can't see it all as human beings, but we certainly see ourselves in animals and sometimes gods. Then above that, there's called the form realm. This is called, first of all, the realm of desire. We are in the realm of desire. The six realms they talk about is all in the realm of desire. It means that we are hardwired to want stuff. That's why sometimes people think about Buddhism, well, you're supposed to be free of all desire and attachment. I think I'll practice that. Well, you can't. You can't. We are hardwired for desire. So the skillfulness of this is that we practice the desire for Buddhahood, the desire for happiness, the desire for freedom from all suffering. Those desires work for us if we do the right method. So that's skillful. So that's the realm of desire. But above that is the realm of form. And this means subtle form. These are like the subtle gods. Very, very high level of just slight perception almost, you might say. And above that is the arupa. A is without, like agnostic, atheist, a cappella. Arupa, the formless realms. There are four formless realms and each one corresponds to these four immeasurables. Let's see if we can have them. Yeah. The formless meditative states that transcend physical sensation, focusing on infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, and finally neither perception nor non-perception. So this is pretty subtle, but get into it with the first one. All mother sentient beings equal to space of happiness, causes of happiness. This is love. So if you were practicing in a mental state, radiating love continuously, not one moment that love stopped, not even for an instant. And think about that when you do your own meditation and you see the horizons in your mind and just how wild our minds are. We can't stay on focus. We can't even stay aware of our breath continuously. So that corresponds to infinite space. Then the compassion, wanting beings to be free from suffering, corresponds to infinite consciousness. Then the third one, nothingness. So it's called emptiness, but with a small e, not the Buddhist emptiness with a capital E, shunyata. What's the difference? Well, in the Buddhist emptiness, someone said emptiness is like a football. You know, it has form because it's empty. It's useful. You can throw it, you can play, you have a game, you can kick it, you can play with your grandkids, all sorts of stuff. Because it's empty, it's useful. So that's the complete understanding of emptiness with a capital E. But this emptiness means that there's just nothing. Your mind is not distracted by anything at all, and not even aware of itself, you might say, in a very subtle way that it's not aware of itself. And finally, the fourth one, neither perception nor non-perception. This is the great equanimity. So think how subtle that is, neither perception nor non-perception. Well, Buddha studied with the great teachers of his day, and with the first one, he came to the realization of the third jnana, this third state, never separated from the happiness free of suffering. And the teacher said, why don't you, take my students now? You become a teacher here. He says, no. He wasn't satisfied. So he went on, he found another teacher, I can't remember the man's name, and practiced with him and came to the fourth state, neither perception nor non-perception. Think how subtle that is. But there's still something there. There's some extremely subtle, but not even a perception or a non-perception of it, of a self, of a clinging to self. This is the fourth state. He was there. And again, the teacher was going to retire and said, you become my successor. And Buddha said, no. And from that, he had exhausted all the meditative techniques, you might say, methods, the teachings of India at his time. And he thought there was nothing left that anyone could teach him. And so he went to the other extreme. He had come from this, extreme form as a ruler of just extremely sensual, wonderful material existence. Now he went to the other extreme. He thought maybe the answer would lie there, an extreme asceticism. He thought if I can just sort of kill this will to live, that maybe truth will emerge. He had that sort of idea or something. And he practiced extremely severely. You sometimes see one of these statues that the Greek Afghans did when Buddhist sculpture started. They started sculpting the Buddha. Originally, they didn't. You go to India, and you'll see like a representation of a throne with a lotus and people making all sorts of offerings to this empty space. His followers originally would not portray him in any way because it just seemed to be demeaning the greatness. But finally, they think through Greek influence, Greek colonies, because Alexander the Great had conquered all the way to India. You see the statue of the Buddha just emaciated. You can see his spine through looking at him from the front. You can see the spine. It's just really, really, that's the extreme asceticism he did, and he almost killed himself. He had 5 disciples who were impressed by him. They were practicing the same way, sitting under waterfalls in the wintertime naked, like eating 1 grain of rice a day, extreme fasting, holding the breath, it said, until he felt like his whole body would explode. It said that no one had ever surpassed the asceticism that he followed. And then one day, you can go to this spot in India. He was on the banks of the Narayana River in northern India and was doing a ritual kind of like ablution, bathing. And he almost drowned in the shallows of the river. He was so weak he couldn't get out. He struggled out of the water. And while he was there, he suddenly had a memory, like an old man maybe, of a moment in his childhood when he was 16. There was a festival going on in the kingdom, a spring harvest, not harvest, but plowing festival, where everyone's out there plowing and everything and having plowing contests among the farmers. And anyway, big festival. His father was there, the whole big royal deal. And this 16-year-old boy was watching these men plow, turning over the earth, cutting earthworms in half, exposing insects and flocks of seagulls coming in and feeding on these unfortunate invertebrates, which had been exposed by this. And he was struck by the pervasive nature of suffering. I mean, it's like a foreshadowing of the First Noble Truth, his first teaching. And he was moved by this, and he left. He scurried away and sat under a rose apple tree, apart from people, and spontaneously entered a state which is called samadhi. There are many different samadhis, but sama means even, and D is wisdom. D is the seed syllable of Manjushri. So this spontaneous state that he attained, and this first discovery of one of the first levels of samadhi. And at one point, his father's looking around and said, "Where's Siddhartha? Where's my son? He's supposed to be here." So he sends a servant out, and they find him, and they roused him out of his meditation and brought him back to the festival. So at this crisis moment, he's just crawling out of the river, having this extreme effort of, he's experienced the extent of spiritual, material pleasure, and then the extent of meditation as it was known in the day, exploring what seemed to be everything in the mental universe, and then the extremes of asceticism. He had done everything, and at this moment, this memory came, and he was taken with this confidence that this samadhi, this was the way to enlightenment, to liberation, to the freedom of all. And, complete conviction. We have this in our lives in different ways. We know. When suddenly you just know. You know, and you know that you know. It can be something just minor. How to solve a little problem opening your jar of mayonnaise. But nonetheless. And at that moment, a goddess in the form of a local girl in the local village came, and she had a bowl of like rice gruel to offer him as a meal. And he took the food. He took the food, and his 5 fellow ascetics, seeing him accept this food, which was against their dietary regime, left him in disgust. And again, in ancient India, that is a big deal, to reject your teacher. Americans, we just do. There's a Dzogchen master who practices in downstate New York. And I heard him speak once at a conference, really a wonderful man. And he told a story about what it's like coming to America. And he said, he had a student, he had a little Dharma center, and the student was really doing pretty well, practicing Dzogchen, these high teachings. And then one day, the guy just disappeared. And, the teacher didn't know what was going on. And then 6 months later, he bumped into him, like in Wegmans, in some grocery store. And he said, "Yeah, how's it going? I mean, you were practicing Dzogchen." He said, "Yeah, I'm in skydiving now." This is America. India was different than that. So it's said that the Buddha took his offering bowl at this point and threw it in the river and said, "If I am to come to awakening, may it flow upstream." And it did. It's said in the mythology that it sank then and went down to the Nagas, the dragons that live at the bottom of the ocean and that are the source of all water and fertility. And from there he walked, it's, quite a distance, maybe 10 miles, something, to Bodh Gaya, sat under that tree, and 24 hours later came to awakening, and everything else has come from that. So these 4 immeasurables, are quite remarkable. And how this works into it for us is like the Dharma teaches, Dalai Lama teaches, that we exist simultaneously, you might say, in 4 different aspects, or 4 different realities even, you could say. One is Dharmakaya. Dalai Lama says it's like space, completely vast. In the smallest molecule, there's space there. In the greatest universe, there's space. You can't limit it. You can't really describe it. It's just, this is called Dharmakaya, the body of truth. And it said at the same time, the sky is infinite, but it's blue. It has quality. It's not just like this emptiness of the third jnana here. It has quality. And this is the great thing about the Dharma, is that it's the positive is better than the negative. You can put it that way. Virtue is better than non-virtue. But in the Dharmakaya level, nothing you can really say. At the same time, we exist in this Sambhogakaya level, which is the body of bliss. This is the subtle aspect of mind that really we don't see. This is the level of all these pictures of all Tara and Vajrakalaya and Yamantaka and all the kind of like cosmic Buddhas, you might say. So, for instance, in our tradition, it started with Vajradhara. Vajradhara transmitted directly to the Buddha. Vajradhara transmitted directly to Tilopa, this great Indian. And sometimes people say, well, where's Shakyamuni Buddha? Where's the historical Buddha go? Well, at his time, there were highly developed beings, his students, who would look at Buddha Shakyamuni, and they could see the Sambhogakaya level, you might say. And Vajradhara, the holder of the Vajra, that means Vajradhara is the Sambhogakaya aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha. So we're living in this vast realm of the blue sky. At the same time, the Sambhogakaya level, which the Dalai Lama says is like clouds. On a beautiful day like today, you look up, no thunderclouds today, but you see these tremendous clouds. I mean, we can't touch them, we can't grasp them, but they're there. We can relate to them with our subtle mind, and so it gives us something to work on. It's kind of hard to go directly to the Dharmakaya. There are people who have done it, I'm told, but my goodness, we need help. And then finally, we exist on this Nirmanakaya. Nirmanakaya is the deceptive body of the Buddha. That's what the Tibetans say. And it's deceptive. And I love that because it has such immediate humility. You're not the whole deal. We attach to the appearances, and in that way we lose our understanding that we are a Buddha right now, even with this gross quality form. So the Dharma is so incredibly skillful at working with all of this, really simultaneously. So, for instance, we have this teaching on the four immeasurables. This is something we can relate to right now. Love, infinite love. At least conceptually, we can understand that. We've experienced love in our Nirmanakaya existence. And so I can imagine that being infinite. I can imagine loving that guy that gives me a hard time every day at work. And then the next one, compassion, the same thing. We see the sheep being brought to slaughter. You have a natural kind of compassion comes up. You see some animal that's hit by the road, flopping around on the side. Natural compassion. You didn't manufacture that. That is your nature manifesting in this Nirmanakaya way. But the teachings allow us to have confidence in that. This isn't just my truth. This isn't just, something that I'm doing and other people don't have. No. This is our nature. It changes the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, I see all the time in my working life people doing the most stupid things. I mean, sometimes it's with really bad motivation, but most of the time it's just this idiotic impulsiveness. You shoot some guy. Why? And it's someone who isn't really a bad person, what you would call a bad person. So when you start to get in touch with it, that it, even in a conceptual way, that you believe it's your nature and not some little shining virtue that you can go around shining about and telling people how wonderful you are, or thinking about yourself that I'm so wonderful, just dressing up the ego with more and more jewelry. Instead, you see it in the other person too for the first time. And so you can't hate someone 100% anymore. You still find yourself doing it 98%. But you have this glimmer of understanding, and you realize that's a mistake. So we start to see our mistakes. That is renunciation. When we renounce our just 100% solid belief in our own wrong kind of divinity. Now, we have these four immeasurables. We can relate to this perfectly. And then when you attach it to these vast mental states that are as high as you can go
with meditation without bodhicitta. I mean, in ancient India, a great master was someone who was just like apart from everything. People, they didn't relate, so to speak. You'd go and you'd maybe get some sort of blessing by just being in the presence. But the Buddha did something remarkable. He came back. These pictures you have of the Buddha, of Amitabha coming down from Dewachen, from the Pure Land. It's not just to get to the Pure Land, it's to get to the Pure Land so that you can benefit beings. These wonderful paintings that the Japanese and Chinese have done of Amitabha descending. It's just so moving. So, how do they work with it? Well, we have all the conventional teachings. This is what Dalai Lama teaches publicly. This is what Khenpo is teaching all the time, because all of us as sentient beings, as human beings, can relate to this. Deeply enlightened, not enlightened. We have it. And so you're being extremely skillful. And what are you trying to do? If you're trying to help people, you want to talk in a language they can hopefully understand. But there's also the whole level of the subtle teachings, the Sambhogakaya. So when you look at that picture over there of Vajrakalaya, he's got 4 legs. You hear like most of it, you should say, well, that's really a little strange. Why am I trying to visualize myself as having 4 legs? What is that going to do for me? The 4 legs are the 4 immeasurables. The extreme subtleness of this is that you can study the 4 immeasurables here. You learn them, you bore into them, you analyze them. Is it in this situation, and finally you become convinced of them, and then you meditate on them. What does it mean? To grow accustomed. This idea that infinite love should be habituated, you're meditating on that. And so slowly, love becomes a stronger force in your habitual mindset. Compassion too. And then, as it says, the joyful sharing, spontaneous joy in other beings. And then finally, the impartiality. Interestingly, the Tibetans don't teach impartiality at the end like this. They teach it in the beginning, because the impartiality is something that's very hard for us. They want you to have the impartiality so you can really then practice the infinite love. And so it's just a skillful device. But nonetheless, if you're practicing in this way, this gradual path to enlightenment, the sutric path, it works. You get to Buddhahood. You can do all of this. It's just completely accessible. It just takes your effort and devotion. Devotion meaning confidence. Well, if you're practicing Vajrakalaya, you have to know the meaning, but at the same time, it's working with the subtle part of your mind. It's like genetic engineering or something. You're making changes at a very deep level. And by visualizing yourself in that way, you are becoming the 4 immeasurables. It takes confidence, obviously, because, who can know that except for we fortunate few who have some sort of a positive inclination towards the possibility of the openness to this. So much so that we show up, I'm speaking for myself, we show up in a realm that is totally compassionate, totally helpful, totally concerned about you, and not even knowing you're there. You think you just stumble onto things. And in truth, we do. But it's because of past karma, past things that we've done. And this is the greatest thing. I've come to see that, entering the path is the greatest thing. Because we all need help. Dzongtsar Khyentse in that video, the teaching that Keen sent to me, he was speaking to a group of Vietnamese, Bhutanese. And he said, yeah, Bhutan is known, they think of themselves as great rice eaters. They're eating rice for breakfast, they're eating rice for morning tea, they're eating rice for lunch, they're eating rice for afternoon tea, they're eating rice for dinner. And although the nutrition is there, at the same time, they will come and say, you know what, I need some sugar in this rice. I need some salt. I need some chilies. I can't just do this rice thing. So Khyentse says, well, this is the mind of Guru Rinpoche, right? And all the tantric teachings modern ones come from Guru Rinpoche. So you just rest in your mind, the vast Dharmakaya. Just rest in your mind. You're a Buddha, you're fine. Yeah, but can I have some sugar? Can I have some salt? And it's okay, we're going to give you a dorje to hold. Oh, good, I got something. We're going to give you the letter Hri. You can hold on to that. Or the letter Hung. Oh, good, I got something now. And can I have a little more? How about a katvanga, the staff? Okay. How about a hat? You can have a hat. Yeah, good. You know what? How about you can be Guru Rinpoche? Oh, that's great. Now I'm getting somewhere. How about you can have a consort? Whoa, now we're talking. So we need these things. They are all Dharmakaya too, but we can relate subtly in a form. So we call it Sambhogakaya, bliss. And the practices, can actually generate great blissful states. But because of the teachings of vast loving kindness and compassion, you're thinking about others, you're not going to get lost in that bliss. You've got a teacher that says, forget about it. This is about sentient beings. It's not about your blissful feeling. You can ride that blissful feeling to your enlightenment. It's extremely skillful, but you have to be protected against yourself. Hence, empowerment. Hence, secret teachings. Hence, samayas, these bonds of trust and obligation. To our ordinary American mind, we don't want to hear about any of that. But once you understand, and once you how this goes to your own self-liberation, that's wonderful. And then the teachings are, wow, the experience of self-liberation is like in a dark cave, there are some lightning bugs flittering around. That's great. That's completely different than the total darkness. But the Bodhisattva, the Buddha, the 10th level Bodhisattva, Buddha, is like the sun at high noon on the hottest day in India in the summertime. So when you start having just conceptual even understanding of like, damn, maybe there's something greater here than I thought, you just keep your mind open for the possibility. Instead, the Dharma you practice, and it's self-correcting. Where you have doubts, you go into those doubts. And you see, is what's happening to you better or not? You go from a space where one guy cuts you off in traffic and you're willing to nuke him, And then suddenly you're starting to practice patience and you realize this is actually better with a little patience. I'm still mad, but I'm not 110% mad. I'm only 80% mad, but I feel a little better than when I was 110%. Dalai Lama says, look in the mirror. Your face is like a demon, all red. Your friends are avoiding you. It's like, I know one of the few corporate jobs I've had, you came to work. If the boss was mad that day, it was like in the ether. Everybody knew it. They wouldn't go near the guy. So these are extremely time-tested teachings. In a word, they work. And you can apply it to your own life. And, we've got this situation where we have these teachings that, to quote Gar Rinpoche, because sometimes people stay away from the Tantra because it seems too complicated and too esoteric and, too many things. Understand. And maybe not really accessible to a more public audience. But like Lama Tarchin said, he says, I'm not building an army. You're trying to transmit the full range of the Dharma because it is the answer. It gives meaning to life immediately and results in self-liberation and various degrees of enlightenment all the way to Buddhahood. And you can look back for 2,600 years and, damn, the record looks pretty good. I mean, all human beings, they do things wrong, but at the same time, it's just hard in this world that anything lasts for 10 years. So regarding the Tantra, I want to share Gar Rinpoche's words on this. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. I'll just conclude with just this 2 pages. This is from the introduction to Garvan Rinpoche's book on Vajrakalaya. It is taught that after cultivating, and this is the translator writing, after cultivating precious bodhicitta and training in the progressive stages of the path, one can enter the door of the secret mantra vehicle, Vajra vehicle, first receiving empowerment, then transmission, and finally practice instructions. This mode of spiritual development is fundamentally relational in its approach. It depends on the human connection between guru and disciple. Indeed, this is how Garchen Rinpoche and countless other realized lineage masters are gradually initiated into the mantric path. Now as ever, practitioners who aspire to become like them would do well to emulate their approach to the teachings. Because Garchen Rinpoche's actions are shaped by both extreme love and extreme pragmatism, they can sometimes be unorthodox and difficult to fathom, ever cognizant of how fleeting human life is. And how rare the conditions are to meet with and receive the sublime Dharma. Rinpoche fulfills without delay the wishes of those who approach him with interest. He offers lovingly and in good faith that which he has received. He has often spoken of his firm commitment to not investigate disciples' good and bad qualities or spiritual histories. Only the Buddhas can know an individual's karma and fitness to receive any teaching. In this regard, maintaining unwavering trust in the source of refuge, the Dharma guardians, and the workings of causality, Garchen Rinpoche considers a person's interest in and access to the Dharma sufficient indications of his or her karmic connection. Because this manual, this book that she's introducing, includes secret teachings, I asked Rinpoche about the threshold for readership. He responded with the following words, quote, "It is said that compassionately looking with a long-range view on the future time of dregs, the Buddha taught mantric sadhanas. Sadhanas are practices. Today, that future has become manifest. Right now is the time of dregs, in which secret mantra teachings must be propagated. As Guru Padmasambhava prophesied, quote, when the wicked era burns like fire, the potent force of secret mantra will blaze forth, unquote. Because of this, and this is Ari talking again, because of this, and because it is far better to receive the Buddha's teachings than not, Rinpoche has offered the instructions herein without demanding prerequisites like empowerment, maintaining pure perception without investigating or discriminating. He has given the Dharma with an open hand. This is one of the ways in which he upholds his samaya, or commitment to beings and to the sources of refuge. It is not Rinpoche's style to offer the Buddha Dharma in a prescriptive way, establishing and policing rules of conduct. Instead, disciples must mature beyond outwardly imposed dictates, taking personal responsibility for our own actions, which are to be tempered by love and heedfulness of cause and effect. Thus, how we approach, receive, and integrate Rinpoche's instructions, how we uphold our own samaya, is a matter we must ultimately determine for ourselves. Okay, let's take a tea break, and we'll come back and do a little practice together. Dave, are you able to cue up the aspiration prayer? Okay. All right. So we're going to, because it's the equinox. No, not the equinox. It's the solstice, right? Short. We're going to do especially for this time, the aspiration prayer of Samantabhadra. Kuntu Zangpo in Tibetan means pure from the beginninglessness in Tibetan, I'm told. But aspiration prayer of Samantabhadra, the Sanskrit name. And then we'll do some accumulation of green Tara mantra for His Holiness's retreat. Okay.
Everything in samsara and nirvana that can possibly appear as a single ground to pass into results in miraculous display of
Are the speakers off? No.
Through the aspiration prayer of Samantabhadra, may all awaken in a fully perfect manner in the palace of the Dharma Dhatu. The crown of all is unconditioned, the self-arising, inexpressible, vast spaciousness, without the name samsara or nirvana. The awareness of just this is Buddha. Unaware sentient beings wander in samsara. May all beings of the three realms be aware of the reality of the inexpressible ground. I, Samantabhadra, am aware that this very reality of the ground without causes and conditions is self-arising within the ground, unaffected by the flaws of outer and inner superimposition and denial, and untainted by the stains of the darkness of mindlessness. Therefore, self-appearances are not blemished by any flaws within self-awareness resting in its seat. There is no fear even if the threefold existence is destroyed. Nor is there attachment to the five sense pleasures, non-conceptual self-arising mind. Neither solid forms nor the five poisons exist. The unceasing dimension of awarenesses, lucidity is of a single essence, and yet displays as five wisdoms. The five original Buddha families spring forth from the maturations of these five wisdoms. Through wisdoms fully unfolding from that, the 42 Buddhas originate. Through the dawning of that dynamic energy of the five wisdoms, the 60 blood drinkers come to life. Therefore, ground awareness is never diluted, since I am the original Buddha. Through my aspiration prayer, may all sentient beings cycling through the three realms recognize the phase of self-arising awareness, fully unfold great wisdom. My emanations form an unceasing stream, unfurling as inconceivable billions, displaying as a vast array of suitable guidance. Through my compassionate aspiration prayer, may all sentient beings cycling through the three realms leave the six kinds of existence behind. At first, sense deluded sentient beings do not dawn as awareness in the ground. They are absolutely mindless and oblivious. Exactly that is unawareness, the cause of delusion. From within that vacuous swoon, a fearful, vague cognizance stirs. From that self and others as well as enmity arise. Through the gradual blossoming of latent tendencies, samsara unfolds, taking its natural course. Due to that, the 5 poisons of the afflictions flourish, and their karmas become an incessant flow. Thus the ground of sentient beings' delusion is mindless unawareness. Hence through this aspiration prayer of myself, the Buddha, may all recognize awareness itself. Carnate unawareness is mindless, oblivious cognizance. Imaginative unawareness is the clinging to the duality of self and other. This twofold carnate and imaginative unawareness is the ground of delusion of all sentient beings. Through this aspiration prayer of myself, the Buddha, may all samsaric sentient beings, darkness of dull mindlessness be dispelled. Their mind of dualistic clinging be translucent. Their awareness recognize its own face. The mind of dualistic clinging is down from the arising of subtle fixation. Dense latent tendencies gradually unfold. Be it food, wealth, clothing, places, companions, the 5 sense pleasures or beloved relatives. We are tormented by our attachment to what seems attractive. These are mundane delusions. The karmas of perceiver and perceived are never exhausted. When the results of clinging ripen, we are born as hungry ghosts, tortured by craving. How pitiful is our hunger and thirst. Through this aspiration prayer of myself, the Buddha, may sentient beings full of attachment and clinging neither cast out the torment of desire, nor welcome the craving of attachment. But may awareness take its very seat, through letting mind relax in its own state, and may discriminating wisdom be attained. A subtle mind of fear stirs around the appearance of external objects. Thus the unfolding of hatred's latent tendencies leads to powerful enmity, beating and killing. When the results of hatred ripen, oh, how we suffer through being boiled and burned in hell. To this aspiration prayer of myself, the Buddha, when fierce hatreds flare up in all sentient beings of the 6 realms, may relax in its own state without adopting or rejecting. May awareness take its own seat, and may lucid wisdom be attained. Our own mind being hardy, it rise with others and puts them down. Through the arising of intense pride, we experience the suffering of fighting and struggling with others. When the results of those actions ripen, we are born as a God, experiencing transition and downfall. Through this aspiration, prayer of myself, the Buddha, when sentient beings give rise to such haughtiness, may they let their mind relax in its own state. May awareness take its very own seat, and may the wisdom of equality be realized. Triggered by the latent tendencies of rampant dualistic clinging, the competitive mind of fighting and struggling blossoms from the pain of praising ourselves and disparaging others. Being thus reborn in the Asura realm of killing and slashing, we take a deep plunge into the realms of hell. Through this aspiration prayer of myself, the Buddha, when a competitive mind fighting and a struggling dawn, may we not entertain enmity, but let it relax in its own place. May mind take its very own seat, and may the wisdom of unimpeded enlightened activity be. Mindlessness, indifference, distraction, obtuseness, and dullness, forgetfulness, unconsciousness, and laziness, and bewilderment result in roaming as animals without any shelter. Through this aspiration prayer of myself, the Buddha, may the radiance of lucid mindful to shine in the darkness of our bewildered dullness, and may non-conceptual wisdom be attained. All sentient beings of the three realms are equal to myself, the Buddha, the ground of all. But for them it became the ground of mindless delusion. Right now they engage in meaningless activities, with the 6 kinds of karma being like delusions in a dream. However, the primordial Buddha, in order to guide the 6 kinds of beings through emanations, through this aspiration prayer of Samantha Bhadra, may all sentient beings without exception become awakened in the Dharma Dhatu. From now on, whenever mighty yogic practitioners make this powerful aspiration prayer, within self luminous awareness free of delusion, all sentient beings who hear it will fully awaken within 3 lives. During solar or lunar eclipses, when clamor or earthquakes happen, at solstices or at the turn of the year, if we let ourselves arise, the Samantha Bhadra, and recite this prayer within the hearing of all, through the aspiration of us yogic practitioners. All sentient beings of the 3 realms will gradually become free from suffering, and then swiftly attain Buddhahood.
Okay, now in the prayer book, page 38, we'll do some accumulations of Tara's mantra. This is the mantra Green Tara. Om Tari Tutari Turi Soha. And again, having taken refuge, having established motivation with that mindset, we'll do the accumulations, repetitions of the mantra, and then dedicate, and we'll be finished for the day. Okay. Om Tare Nu Re So. 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 Om Tare Nu Re So.
Om Tare Nu, Tare Nu Re So. Om Tare Tu, Tare Nu Re So. Om Tare Nu, Tare Nu Re So. Om Tare Tu, Tare Nu Re So. Om Tare Nu, 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 Tare Nu Re So. Tare Nu, Tare Nu Re So. Om 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 Tare Nu, Nu Re So. Om Tare Nu, Tare 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 Nu Re So. Tare Nu, Tare Nu Re So. Om Tare Nu, Re So. Om Tare Nu, Tare Nu 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 Re So. Om Tare Nu Re So. Om Tare Nu, 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 Tare Nu Re So. Om dare dure so, dare du, 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 dure so, dare du, dare 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 dure so. Mani me me hungry. 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 Ye wa di nu dog chen rei ze guang drum jur chi dro wa ji gang ma lu mo de yi sa la gu par shu. When we think this way, great compassion comes into being.
And when we see that phenomena are indeed devoid of true existence, we will be engulfed by such a strength of great compassion that we will never abandon living beings who circle in samsara through their fixated belief in true existence. In sum, the birth in the mind of great compassion and love for others and a complete indifference to the 8 worldly concerns will naturally occur. If those, therefore, who wish for fortunate destinies in samsara and the definite goodness of nirvana practice wholesome ways, such as generosity, self-discipline, and meditation, they will certainly reap great benefit thereby. But greater than these is the wisdom of realizing profound emptiness free from all conceptual elaboration, the deep and final remedy for the 2 obscurations. To gain it, one must strive in proper study and reflection, as is said in the Uttara Tantra, wherefore generosity is productive of enjoyable experience, self-discipline leads to the higher realms, while meditation banishes afflictive emotion. But wisdom banishes all defiled emotion and conceptuality. Therefore it is supreme. The cause of it is listening to the teachings. May every last one be free. Svaha. Okay, thank you all. Kempo was in Chicago, I guess, at Richard Dorje's place, and he's in Madison with Kenshin Kontra Gelson. And what do we have this week? Is this week Vajrakalaya, Gretch? Or is it not happening because of Christmas? Gretchen's checking the schedule. Yeah.
The website did say Vajrakalaya Tuesday.
Said Vajrakalaya Tuesday. Well, we can confer afterwards and see if we have to make an announcement. Anything else from anybody? Thank you for your patience and everything. Have a wonderful day. There we go.